What's up, guys? Welcome back for another episode of the Solo Omega. This is episode 4. We're going to be kind of going over and just fielding some questions from the comments and stuff like that on episode 3, and kind of make this episode a little bit more knowledge based. We probably won't be doing a whole lot of gameplay, but I'll hopefully be just answering a lot of questions as far as getting set up in null as a solo and everything like that. One of the first questions I got was how to find an alliance in null, how to find a corporation and everything. And really, it just comes down to like basic networking for the most part, because you're going to be basically looking at different alliances or different corporations in alliances that control different aspects or different regions of nullsec, and then those regions, based on like kind of what your drone training is, and like what if you want to do any sort of PI, like each region is kind of different, or what ships you eventually want to like get into. For instance, like Caldari ships use primarily nitrogen isotopes or nitrogen fuel blocks and things like that, and so nitrogen isotopes for jumping. So doing anything like Grease to space is good, because that usually means that you can get a pristine white glaze, which gives you the nitrogen isotopes in order to help fuel your stuff. I think it's really important to actually like live in a region that matches your ship type for jumping, just so you can kind of get your fuel locally. But going a little bit more just in depth into like just finding like kind of a home. You can technically be part of a corporation and still play solo. I mean, it happens all the time. For me personally, I spent a lot of time in high sec for like the first like 3 months of playing Eve. Did a lot of mining, didn't do a whole lot of ratting or things. Like basically just did like the whole mining thing. Once I actually kind of networked and got into like a corporation or an alliance that had a system, a home system in nullsec, then I started branching out and just doing combat sites and just doing a little bit more than just mining. And then just the relationships I built there, and it's carried from that to like you just keep building relationship with different people and kind of just moving up the chain. Really, you can eventually get into a spot where you can either run your own corporation or you can be part of a corporation that rents. The other part of this question was how do you find like a system that's good for like less traffic? Well, it comes down to like that alliance and their renting policies, what systems are available to rent. If you are running your own corporation, you have to keep that in mind. You'll be out there looking at their system renting list, so you'll have cost and everything associated with that. I highly recommend that you try and get a lot of your skills diversified, so that as a solo account you're able to do multiple different activities in order to fuel the cost of not just your Omega, if you want to do it that way, or you also want to be able to make enough ISK in a month to pay your system rent and all that. It makes it where if you're paying system rent, you really just need to like utilize everything that you can to benefit from that. And system rent can run anywhere between 1 billion and up, depending on many different things, right? If it's a dead end system, it's going to be a premium on that. If there's ice in system, there's going to be a premium on that as well, or multiple other things like iHub upgrades. The more iHub upgrades that are in the system, it will drive the monthly cost up as well. So in a lot of corporations and people that I know, they'll have multiple systems rented. They'll have one system that's kind of configured for the mining and the industry, and then they'll have dedicated systems for ratting, where the iHub upgrades are more targeted towards ratting and combat anomalies and combat sites and things like that. But if you're just starting off and you're just trying to get into null and kind of do the solo thing, I would recommend going down the relic, doing exploration relic sites with like a some sort of explore ship. Get really good at scanning, get really good at hacking and all that. Get into a corporation and help them clear SIGs and stuff, and then just start building relations really, and go from there. As you start getting more and more income from null from doing like relic sites, and you can start branching off and doing low end ratting with some of the low end ratting ships, and eventually get up to like doing stuff in marauders and tactical cruisers and things like that. For my main, my main's about a little over 2 years old, so she's able to do quite a bit of things just from focusing down on a lot of stuff. So she can do mining, PI, ratting, yeah, and she has like max golem skills, max Tengu skills, and all that stuff comes into play. If you want to try like two birds, one stone, you could technically just kind of like start working on the Tengu. The Tengu won't be the best at scanning, but you can technically rat up to ports and hubs and stuff like that, and also do scanning. And then it can also just break completely down into a crane. I did a video several months ago which talked about like nullsec go bag, but really the purpose of that video is with this crane, like getting any sort of blockade runner is great, right? And that video talked a lot about like doing like mining, ratting, exploration, because you can technically, get like a Tengu and a skiff and even a buzzard all in there when you repackage them. I usually run the buzzard without rigs just so that it can break down without any loss. The Tengu will always break down and you'll never lose the rigs for it, so it breaks down and it goes inside of a crane, which will travel a lot faster anyway. So if you're actually like ratting or scanning in multiple systems and you don't want to gate the Tengu, then it can go into here. My Sino alt actually also uses a blockade runner, and what I do is I run an unrigged Falcon setup, and so she'll basically take her Falcon, her Sino ship, and stick it in here, where she gets covert ops and she gets interdiction nullification, and I gate her with basically the crane, the blockade runner shell, and when she gets where she needs to be, I take the Falcon out, I assemble it, undock, do the Sino jump, and then pack it all back in. Right. I'll do another video going over how to kind of keep your assets kind of organized, and so that you can actually move around a lot easier in null, and that's just gonna be utilizing things like a suitcase type of gameplay. So the next question we're going to answer here is going to be in terms of ISK making, right? Primarily when it comes to exporting goods back to Jita to sell them, right? Because if you're renting a system, if you're wanting to buy ships, if you need ISK in order to like kind of buy ammo, and like it just makes the whole thing, everything's about the money. So you need to be able to actually have a plan in order to pull stuff out of null to make that money. Most of the time, most of my ISK will come from project discovery and ratting bounties. That's one of my preferred activities, the filler activity, when there's like no combat signatures and stuff, because that ISK goes straight to your wallet. There's no need to have an export plan, but with an export plan you are going to unlock a lot of earning potential when it comes to combat sites, when you start getting faction modules, when you start doing data relic sites and things like that. So as you can see here on the screen, this is my export folder, which is a corporate hangar. This is essentially everything that's coming out of data relic sites and combat sites, right? Really, I've only run one combat site since I started this series, which was a Pithino complex, and you got this. This is a flat 80, right? And it doesn't weigh anything, weighs like 10 cubic meters or something. And then all this other stuff just comes from data relic sites. So I've got about 300 million value here in very little cubic meter space, right? And I'll go like a week or so of just kind of doing a lot of different activities and just kind of stockpiling stuff I want to export. And then depending on what the size of my export is, I can do several different things. I could load everything. I could just ship out 12,000 cubic meters worth into the crane. I can just throw it all in the crane here and just fly it back to high sec. Takes maybe like 30 minutes round trip to do that, and I don't have to wait on a jump rating service or anything like that. The other thing you could do is, if your alliance has a logistics or jump rating service, you can take everything to wherever that route starts, submit a courier contract, and then just wait for it to hit Jita, right? I'd have a RIA because my main is jump freighter trained. So what I'll normally do is, whenever my export stuff gets to a certain point, I'll just kind of load up the RIA, the jump freighter, and either, depending on how badly or how much I need the ISK, I'll either jump it myself all the way back to Jita, because I have my own route seeded, so I can do all my own jump freightering out of null. Or I can just, if I'm feeling lazy, I can just send it all through the alliance jump rating service and just wait for it, right? Which is traditionally easier for me to do, because on the days that I work, I'll essentially just, rather the day before I go back to work for the week, I'll just take everything that I've exported on my days off and I'll put it into a contract, career contract. And so usually, most of the time, by the time I, you know, got the next set of days off, I've got that stuff in Jita. I can just jump over there and sell it and everything like that. But that's kind of my strategy. Obviously, if you don't have jump freighter capabilities, stuff like that, if you're just starting off, you're going to need to rely on others a lot at the alliance level or even the corporation level to kind of get stuff back to high sec to sell. But a lot of times, the corporation you might be associated with might have people who are buying the stuff that you're getting, or the alliance will probably have a Discord with a trade channel that you'll be able to sell stuff, in the region as well. In my experience, I very rarely, if ever, have to take things all the way back to Jita. So I'm either going for straight bounty from bounty ISK, which is just easy, straight to the wallet, and I can stockpile, data relic site, loot for a whole month before I even really need to export it. And most of the time, I can just, find a buyer locally. If I want the best price, then I, basically making one trip to Jita a month, essentially, which works out really well for me. But that's also saying that, you're doing a lot of different activities in terms of like exploration and combat sites where you have all that loot that you kind of need to go through. As far as mining goes, I only export Morphite, which comes from Mercoxis, so I'll mine Mercoxis here and there. And because Morphite has a really low cubic meter for the ISK value, so it's another great commodity to kind of ship out. I also do PI, but I mainly do high value P2, and I sell it locally. So I'm usually building things like coolant or mechanical parts because everybody that's in the region who's making fuel blocks, I could technically make the fuel blocks myself. I used to do that for a long time. I used to make nitrogen fuel blocks and just sell them to either the corporation or the alliance because all those structures in null need to be fueled. So fuel blocks are not really worth exporting back to Jita because the weight of them and the value, it just doesn't really pay off when you calculate all the jump fuel required or the contract price for a courier service. So you can go all the way from P1, mine some ice, and build fuel blocks and sell them to your alliance or your corporation and make it really good money. But more recently, I just kind of do like the P2. It's a little bit more passive income with making coolant and mechanical parts and selling that to the alliance. That is I still export it to like the main cube stars in the region, just so it's easier to sell to other corporations or whatever. Which is why my jump freighter is essentially just a local convenience. I'm able to fill up the RIA completely with like P2, take it to like the main cube star, and then just contract it out from there. That's another source of income as well, which could technically be considered export because you're exporting it out of your home system or whatever. But there's multiple ways in order to actually make ISK, not just like with just killing rats, but any like pretty much anything that you mine or anything that you manufacture or anything that you get from data relic sites or combat anomalies. I usually just save it all and then figure out what a good demand is and kind of like hone down on something and make good income. I would say the last time I was set up in null and I was doing fuel blocks and I was doing nano repair paste, I was doing combat sites, data relic sites, I was doing all these things. I was doing Mercoxis mining, all that. I was making probably close to $1.5 billion a day. Obviously, it's not like every day was making it, but like if I took the entirety of like my income for the month and averaged it out for each day of the month, it was about 1.5. Right? If you get to that point, then yes, running your own corporation, renting your own system, where you can kind of just do things that you want to do is great, and you're able to actually like have the skill points, have the skills to actually export and kind of take care of everything yourself. So hopefully, as this series continues, you'll be able to see a little bit more of that. I've been in null for basically like 3 hours, for the most part. I don't do a whole lot in null off camera, so everything you've seen on the series so far is essentially everything I've been doing that noteworthy, other than like setting up PI. But I mean, 310 million for basically an hour of play is about average. If I start tonight, I'll probably go out and like hunt down some 7 of 10s or 6 of 10s with the golem, and I'll probably rack anywhere between 500 million to like a billion doing that. And as far as like, I've actually in the past I've exported an entire crane worth of stuff before all the way to Jita, and I think the most value I've fit into that 12,000 cubic meters was close to 9 billion. It was a pretty good payday, and that's kind of what I go for. That's what kind of my enjoyment in playing Eve. I like the solo gameplay. You know, I still have friends, yes, and occasionally I will go out and rat with people just for a social element. But if it's when it comes down to literally just like doing the grind, playing the 90%, 95, 98% of the time, I would just prefer to do everything myself. You know, jump rate my own things, do ratting multi-box, do mining multi-box, or whatever the case may be. But more recently now, I'm actually focusing more on just having the main character. And you can't really ever truly be like a solo character. The only way you could actually just end up not ever using an alt ever is if you weren't interested in bigger ships that require a Sino alt. Now, with this character, I use a Sino alt because I have things like the Rourke and the Jump Raider and a Dread, and I use a Phoenix. I have and then carriers and all these things that require, you know, to move them around requires a Sino alt, and that's just the nature of the beast. Is what it comes down to. But I would say that what my playstyle is pretty much as solo as you can get if you still want to leave yourself open to the bigger capital ships. I think what I like most about like just being a solo player in nullsec is just the grind, right? Like I have a I have a routine that I do every day, and I diversify my activities, and I always base my activities off of like kind of a baseline when it comes to like income, right? Like for instance, Mercox's mining, every cycle for Mercox's mining is roughly like 3 million right now. But then if I sit here, what I normally do when I really don't have any like cosmic signatures or anything to run, I'm over here doing like ports and rally points. It's kind of like my lazy day kind of activity, which is really fun because most of the time, most of the money that I get comes from, like I said in the past, combat sites and relic sites. Relic sites being extremely low time consuming and high value. I mean, I pulled 120 mil off of a single site a couple days ago. I did another relic site earlier or last night. It was like 46, which is about middle of the road. You could pull almost a 50 usually from a good relic site. What that really means is that means that getting your getting plex, getting the ISK to plex your account every month for a single account is extremely easy. It used to be like 50. You had to do like 55 mil a day for like 28 days or whatever to actually pay for your account. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of actually like 80 right now, but like I've always just kind of like rounded up. I've always kind of just just set my sights on like 200. If I can do 200 mil, um, and then at least 4 times a week, then I'm good to go, right? And that actually gives me plex and the extra cash for like ships, ammo, and things like that. Once we get done with this port, I'll kind of show you what the export folder is looking like, and that's going to be kind of like our basis of progress for this series. Is every episode I'll show you kind of like what the export folder looks like, the value, and you'll be able to see over the course of the series, or in between, exports, how much value has been pulled and how often. And obviously, like a lot of like I'll try to field as many questions as I can in future episodes based on like comments that are left on previous episodes. So if you're following along or you're also trying to do the same thing, the solo omega thing, then I'll do my best to give you as much guidance and as knowledge as possible. But I think the main purpose is just kind of document and prove. I think it's an important thing is to prove that it is possible to flex your account without actually playing like 4 hours a day. And that's what I like. I mean, obviously, like, there's nothing wrong with like paying for your Omega, right? I used to do it for a long time, but getting my Omega through actual gameplay is kind of like the one of the challenges that I enjoy. So right now we're just kind of chilling on these ports. Ports are super easy. I literally just, go in here and circle this one little lookout and just kind of go to town. Keep an eye on local and, all that stuff. These frigates can be a little obnoxious. Go all 6 launchers on this dude. I know that a lot of people are commenting about the screen shaking and stuff that I had turned on, but I have effectively turned that off. It never really bothered me in the past. I think it's on by default. But I went ahead and turned it off just to make the viewing experience a little bit better. I might end up doing some sanctums with the sanctum and havens with the golem tomorrow. The income is really good on those. It just takes a little bit longer than ports and rallies with the Chingu. Also, been kind of waiting on. I've had really bad luck with relic sites today. Getting them to spawn. So I need to go actually hunt for some of that stuff later too. If I can get a couple more relic sites tonight, we should be doing pretty good. This is always a fun wave. This always kind of gets my shield a little bit low. And of course, we're doing a reload in the middle of everything. I used to run a painter on here, but with doing ports and rallies, it happened. We're going through them so fast that I carry one. I have one on backup just in case I change over and do something a little bit more, involved. But the painter's really only good for battleships. Everything else goes down pretty quick. So we're going to cut off on these. I'm going to take this destroyer down. And then we're going to throw everything on these battleships to cap this thing off. Like I said, once I get this done, we'll head back and I'll show you the export folder and give you kind of an update on how things have progressed today. Haven't done anything too crazy. I'll probably get into a little bit more, probably just some more sites and relic sites tonight. Haven't really got to play a whole lot today, but I've made quite a bit. I've also set up some PI too. Kind of refined my little PI setup. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building fuel block PI. Excuse me. So right now I'm building coolant and mechanical parts. And then I'm pretty much building everything except for enriched uranium. I'm not really looking to really go do a lot of ice mining right now, but I'm going to stockpile all the things so that when I do get ready to do fuel blocks and do ice, I don't have to really worry about PI. Alright, we got closing on this guy. That's what the problem here is they're out of range. We're gonna go and approach with prop mod on. I was talking and wasn't even realizing it. He's like 1K away from off range. Go and close in on him. We'll go once these are loaded. We'll go and throw this guy at 22. Take him down real quick. Hopefully get him down before we kind of get out of range on him. Approach him a little bit. They're like at the perfect distance just to be kind of obnoxious for me. So I need to come in like 1K and just, you know, kind of get it done. Kind of running from me a little bit. Alright, we're through shield, then we can just turn around. Re-engage this guy. We'll go and just orbit him. We gotta come in a little bit. Let's do a reload. They're both like moving in opposite directions of each other, and so go and close in a little bit. What I love about the Tengu here is rate of fire is really good, but sometimes it's a bad thing because you'll use some more missiles than needed. This should be it though. Once we get done with this, we'll be done with this port. I could legit just like run ports and rallies all day and it wouldn't even bother me. Okay, so we do have one more wave. Those guys went way the hell out there. Let me turn this shield booster off. We're going to have the prop mod on just so we can close distance here. Shouldn't be too bad. Just 3 battleships. I'm used to the last wave kind of moving around a little bit like that. We traveled way far out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to like manual move past them. Once we get close enough, I'm going to turn prop mod off and hopefully we can get them down before we have to kind of readjust. Let the cap kind of do its thing. Go ahead and get 3 missiles up. Go and cut the prop mod so we can throw shield booster up. We'll let that single one keep working on that, and we'll start double downing on one of these. We can start approaching or orbiting one of these battleships so we can kind of stay in range, not run into the same problem we did last wave. First battleship should be going down pretty quick. I don't think we've seen a tick yet. Yeah, we're still in between the ESS tick. We're going to approach this guy just directly. That'll bring us down a little bit more, closer to the other guy. He's way down there. And he's at 20, so he's kind of on the line. I think we're good. Yeah, there he goes. Should be the last wave on this, I'm pretty sure. Kind of lost track with all the talking. 2 more volleys. That should be it right there. Cut those out. Nope, we need one more volley. Alright. That's it for that port. Alright, back in the station. As you can see, we've added quite a bit more to the export folder. We did a Greece's military operations facility last night, which was the 20th tier overseer. We're up to 647 million. If we do another relic site and or another combat site tonight, we'll have effectively generated about 1 billion in less than 12, probably actually less than 6 hours of play, which means we're on par for where we want to be at, which is exciting. I'm also doing I'm currently doing research. I got new fuel log BPOs that are in the cooker right now for mineral efficiency, and then I'm also getting another nanite repair paste BPO all researched out. So we might get into like some nanite repair paste, so you guys can see how that works. And that's another great commodity to export because it's high value, it's low cubic meter. So if you can actually, and it's completely, all the materials that go into it are completely PI. So unlike fuel blocks where you have to do PI and go mine ice, nanite repair paste, literally everything you need for it comes from PI. So if you have the PI alt and you can scale it to the point where you can make a good profit, it's really, really good. And it takes no time at all to research for mineral efficiency and time efficiency. Another thing I want to do before I close out this episode is we have, I've got some skin codes to give away from that CCP hooked me up with. So what I want you to do is if you want one of these skin codes, we're going to limit one. You can only get one per character because that's how skins work. But leave a comment on the video and then send me a email. And what I will do is I will reply to I'll reply to people in the order that I received them. And then when all the skin codes are used up, they'll basically come first serve. So if you're interested in any of the free skins that I've got to offer, then look forward to hearing from you. But anyway, thank you for watching. Tomorrow we'll get into a lot more combat. We'll be trying to I think I want to set a goal tomorrow. We're going to see how fast we can actually get to 200 mil earned and see how that goes. And then just so I can start kind of putting putting the earnings kind of more into perspective as far as like how much you can make per hour or per day, and hopefully get you guys motivated to go out there and play solo in nullsec. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.